Morning guys, it's Tyler here with Ty's Firewood Supply. And this morning we had a little opening in our schedule, so we picked up a free firewood pickup. We found this about 12 miles from our wood yard, so we're here picking up to what I believe is silver maple, but I may totally be wrong. My deciduous wood species identification is not very good. Living on the West Coast, we have a lot of conifers, so not super keen on the city trees. So anyhow, if any of you guys know what species this might actually be, definitely leave a comment below. Here's the bark, and then the grain, and then the rest of the trees actually right there. So got some ferns growing on top. But anyhow, we're gonna load up. We got all loaded up here. Nice load of wood. Back to the wood yard we go. This is the tree. It's a white fir. It was kind of already meeting its demise. All the white firs here, you can see there's more stumps around. I've actually cut here quite a bit before because they're just dying out. This was clear cut about 7 years ago, 40 acres, and white fir is kind of an understory tree, so it doesn't like a whole lot of direct sunlight. And then we've had a couple heat waves the last winter, so it's just been flash frying these trees like no other. So that and western red cedars as well, another species that's been having a hard time. But you can see they're on top of it. They've planted some trees, and then some trees that have naturally seeded. So today we're going to cut all of our stumps off from previous times being out here. And then we're going to cut this and leave the brush. They're going to burn the brush. And then there's 3 poles here that the power line company took care of this tree here. So we're going to take that pole because that'll be dry firewood at this point, and then these 2 smaller ones as well. So we're going to start down at the bottom here, and we'll just buck this thing up and then work our way up and out of here. We got that thing all limbed up, and we started bucking it up. There's a couple things I want to talk about before we go any further. Number one, I didn't expect to be cutting today, so I'm not wearing chaps. I almost always wear Kevlar chainsaw pants. I have a couple pairs that are very breathable, and they're honestly more comfortable than normal jeans, so I almost always wear those. But today, got the Carhartts on. I'm a bad example, so make sure you're wearing chaps or some sort of leg protection, because accidents do happen. So I don't like to not wear them, but in this case I don't have them. And another thing, on uprooted trees, you always have to be really careful, because this is a pretty telltale sign that there is some tension left in the stump. So as I get closer to this, I'm going to watch the tension, and I wouldn't be surprised by the time I get to the end and make some of my final couple cuts, that stump's going to want to stand up. So if you ever see tension on a tree that's uprooted like that when you're cutting, pay attention to that, because people get hurt, and sometimes more. So just make sure that you're always checking your surroundings, and you have the proper tools to handle a job like this, because even though it looks like just a simple down tree, it is far more dangerous to buck up and limb up a tree that is still connected to the stump. So that being said, we're going to buck the rest of this up. check it out. This thing's totally gonna lift up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a couple more cuts, and then I'm gonna go back to the base. I'm gonna buck this thing off, and I'll show you the way that I do it. Now, I'm not a trained professional, so I do not recommend any of this, but like I said, let's cut a few more rounds off of this guy right here, and then we'll see it lifting up, and then I'm gonna go back clear to the base and we'll buck it off, and I'll show you how to do that. So here we go. Okay, we're gonna make the final cut and see what happens. I think my new opinion is it's probably gonna stay exactly where it's at, but if there's one thing I've learned with Mother Nature, you just never know. So we're gonna find out. So I'm going to show you guys what I did here. So it's just like if you're bucking logs in the woods for a logging outfit. So what cut I did here was just a bore cut. And so it's pretty simple. Since the pressure of this tree or this log is facing down towards the ground, it's going to want to drop down. So if I were to cut straight through that, by the time I got to the bottom of my cut, it's going to want to pinch my bar. So to alleviate that, what you can do is you cut in through the top, pull your tip out. Be very careful that you don't buck your tip out, because that can, that can buck your chainsaw. And you want to chase that down, bore through, and then cut the bottom out early. And then what I do is I'll take all this wood and bring it to me. And what I mean by that is I will cut all my wood that's far away from me and bring that little hinge that I got to cut as close to me as possible. That way there's as least of a chance as possible, it's a tongue twister there, of getting my chain stuck, and also being able to get out of the way quick if this does decide to uproot. So I already made my cut. I went up the top, bored through, went down, and then I chased it around. So I'm going to set this right here, and we're going to see what the final result is. So last thing too, before I get started here, you always want to make sure you have a good escape route. So I have this little tree behind me, so I'm going to keep that in mind. And if I need to get out of here quick, always make sure you clear a path out beforehand. Safety first. All right. So there we we go. It stood right back up, and I kind of made a crucial mistake there, you know, just not reading the terrain enough. And, you know, again, just shows you that anything can happen. I was on the downhill side of this. In hindsight, that's a mistake on my part. I should have cut from the uphill side, because this landed on the stump and rolled down a little bit. Now, again, I always express getting out of the way pretty quick, so I kind of had an idea that that was going to happen. But in the future, always stay on the uphill side if you're cutting wood, because things happen and wood travels fast. So we're on flat ground here. Didn't end up being a big deal, but this little stump, you know, can turn into a lot. So there we go. That thing sat back up, and yeah, so we're gonna cut the rest of it. All right, we're all geared up. We're gonna cut one of those little tiny poles behind it, and then set some logs on the lawn so we don't indent the lawn, and then we'll get this pole down and cut up. grabbing the Rugged Made. Having the log lift will be really nice. Got this log out of here. Saved the last log of that blowdown. Gonna see if my uncle wants to try and mill it with his Alaskan mill. I know he's been trying to break that thing in, so this would be a pretty simple, you know, cheap, low risk piece. So if he wants to try and mill it, and if nothing comes of it, then that's fine too. But yeah, we're gonna split all this up, and then if we have some time, we're gonna go back over into the woods over there and start splitting that up all into the dump truck. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's get to it. Just finished up splitting that pole. Got more wood out of it than I thought. All the bark was coming off, so that's a good sign that the wood's almost dry already. So we'll throw it in our new contraption that I'll show you guys here in a minute. But yeah, I got 2/3 of a load out of it. There's still some more over on the far side, but we're gonna kind of pack up here, get cleaned up. And then it looks like we're gonna be taking some deliveries of some logs here this afternoon from the tree service company. So looking forward to that. So let's get this stuff all cleaned up and loaded up and out of here.